Right. I mean, I think the kind of urge for self-destruction and unaliving ideation is actually totally normal. One thing that I think is not normal is the roots of the demonization around that act, right? Where it's like, think of Christianity, right? Where they create this thing called heaven, and it's fucking awesome up there. It's just like a huge party. I don't know about the 70 virgins thing. I mean, I know in Islam they get 70 virgins. I don't know what kind of sex is going on up in heaven, but it's supposed to be this pretty kick-ass awesome place. Now, if heaven were really real and it were this fucking amazing place, the obvious thing would be like upon first struggles in humanity is like, yo, I'm out. I want to go to heaven. Why am I here if there's this heaven place? What am I waiting for? And so they had to demonize the act of self-unaliving. Because obviously, if you're going to create this awesome thing after death and life really, really, really fucking sucks, as it does for most people, then the obvious answer is like, what am I waiting for? And so through centuries of this, we have come to kind of place infinite amounts of shame, both individually and culturally, around sets of feelings that, if we're being honest, most thinking and feeling people feel. The questioning of, is life worth living? The suffering quotient. You know, like when we're suffering so much, maybe we do just want to alleviate the suffering. When we've lived a life, I mean, I'm hitting this in middle age, you know, you're kind of looking around, you're going like, you know, I mean, I've kind of feel like I've felt everything there is to feel. And, you know, I'm not into like consumerism and trying to like acquire all of this stuff. You know, I feel kind of alone and I just don't know. And you start to think like, I mean, what's the point of all of this? And I think it's totally natural. I don't actually see anything disordered or there's no crisis. I mean, I was in a trauma response a couple weeks ago and I was expressing these things to my mother and she's doing the thing that people do and freak out. And going, Mama, this is just me. This is what I'm saying. This is not crisis. I'm not in danger. These are just the thoughts that somehow your parenting and dad's parenting have led my mind to be having. Right? I mean, I always equate the ideation too that like when you have narcissistic parents who pathologically can't take responsibility for anything, they're subconsciously convincing the child that everything is the child's fault. Well, if the child's subconscious recognizes them as the source of all the problems, their subconscious will also recognize the solution to all of their problems as subtracting the source. And it's just this like 1 + 2 = 3, right? Where it's like, you know, if I'm the problem of everything, and we don't want to have any problems anymore, then I should just subtract myself from the equation. And it's not crisis, it's not anything. It's a very specific form of conditioning. So there's all of these ways that I think actually contemplating life and contemplating mortality and contemplating our control over life and mortality actually leads to better mental health than repressing it would do, because it doesn't take Carl Jung to tell us that the things we repress control us. Therefore, if repressing these urges of self-destruction, we're going to be led around by urges of self-destruction, when the simple expression of them and being seen in them and being able to articulate them coherently without being accused of being in crisis, without being sent to a psych ward, you know, it is actually healthy. Now, of course, there are actually crises. There are actually people that need help in these situations. But just like everything, we need a level of acceptance with whatever thoughts our mind are producing in order to properly grapple with them.